These streets behind me are home to the largest Filipino community in all of Europe, but despite that, it's still a real hidden gem. Welcome to London's Little Manila. Over 10,000 kilometres from the tropical islands of the Philippines is the city of London, England, a diverse place full of communities from all over the world. You have well-known tourist hotspots like Chinatown, but even the most local of Londoner would struggle to find Little Manila. And while it's not obviously signposted, this is a place where you can find packed Pinoy supermarkets, delicious Filipino food, and of course, the Philippines' answer to Ronald McDonald. But first, we had to find it. Back in 2019, me and my girlfriend Emma spent 2 months exploring the islands of the Philippines, and we really fell in love with the food and the culture, so we were excited to find a slice of island life slightly closer to home. And it turns out that London's Little Manila is hidden within a very busy and well-known part of town. Hello and welcome to Earl's Court in the west of London. And on first impressions, I've got to say, there's not a whole lot here that reminds me of the Philippines. In fact, just walking down the main streets, it kind of reminds me of any other part of London with all the usual chain restaurants and shops. But I've been told that if you look a little bit closer, this area has some features that are uniquely Filipino, especially when it comes to food. Let's check it out. While it might not have the lavish decorations of a Chinatown, Earl's Court's Filipino connections go back a fairly long way. In the 1970s, the UK government encouraged Filipinos to move over to London to find housekeeping work. And by the 1980s, there are around 18,000 Filipinos living in the UK, compared to 2021, where there's now 200,000 and counting. And the vast majority of that population started by settling in the Earl's Court area, mainly due to its lower cost of living and great transport links to the rest of London. Over the years, the UK has become reliant on Filipino workers to fill critical gaps in the National Health Service, especially when it comes to nurses working on the front line, with over 20,000 Filipinos taking on vital roles around the country, including a nurse called May Parsons, who in front of the world's media was the first nurse in the world to administer a coronavirus vaccine. But despite that exposure, this community is still pretty unknown to the nation as a whole. For our first stop, we headed to Kamayan sa Earl's Court, a little Filipino restaurant with a huge Filipino menu, to get an authentic taste of some classic food. This is going to be the first Filipino food I've had since I was actually in the Philippines 2 years ago, so this is very exciting. I think it's safe to say that a lot of people in the UK don't know a whole lot about Filipino food and culture, which is a bit strange because we have Indian, Chinese and Thai restaurants in almost every English town, and Filipino is much rarer to see. So the food has arrived. This is a chicken adobo, which is an absolute classic of a Filipino dish. This one's come wrapped in a banana leaf, which is called a binalot, which means to wrap. And if we open it up, inside, we've got the chicken, we've got some rice, and we've got a salted egg on the side as well. An adobo is essentially chicken or pork marinated in soy sauce and vinegar. They use a lot of vinegar in Filipino cooking, which gives it a nice little zing. So without any further ado, let's give this a taste. Just going to mix it all up, get some chicken, some rice, and a bit of egg as well in this first mouthful. Here we go. Cheers. That is really nice. Honestly, takes me straight back to the islands. I imagine it's the same for Filipinos living in London. You know, you come somewhere like this, you have some chicken adobo, takes you straight back home. And I'm washing it down with some buko juice. And this one's really, really sweet. What have you got there?
I've got a ginatang sitor vegetable stewed in coconut milk. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. So I've got some squash, some green beans, which I can't get on the spoon. Let's not worry about that. And some chilies, which I'm going to give to you.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm not one for eating on camera. Oh my god, that's so good.
Is it?
Oh my god.
compliment
Oh,
for you to have some
Oh.
more pictures on your blog.
No. You know what we're
thank you.
doing.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. This is really tasty.
It's really good. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely, thank you.
Wow.
Oh.
So the guy in the restaurant saw us filming a video and he brought us out some extra dishes, which is really, really nice. And one of them is a Bilo Bilo, which is this. And this is a very, very famous Filipino dessert. It's got this amazing purple colour. And I never actually tried this in the Philippines. So let's give it a taste now. Got sweet corn in there. And then it's the ube that gives it the purple colour. And ube is really, really popular in the Philippines. It's like a yam, so it's got a kind of potatoey, sweet potato flavour. So it's quite unusual. It's warm. It tastes kind of like a rice pudding. That's really nice. Very satisfying. It might seem weird that there's sweet corn in there, along with all the sweet stuff, but it tastes really good. Wow. I think there must be like rice balls, and that's obviously what gives it that rice pudding flavour. Really good. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Oh
welcome.
my god.
Uh,
You're too kind.
Hello, hello.
Hello, yes.
We spent 2 months in the Philippines.
Oh, really?
Couple
Yeah,
years
yeah,
ago, yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
We
So
love
what's your
the
blog?
food.
One Shot Adventures.
I'll take it.
Thank you. Thank you for the food. It's
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah.
Very good.
Welcome, yeah. Try it because that one is one of favorite dessert.
Yeah.
You know, because you know in Philippines always hot.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
They like
refreshing.
yeah.
it's like lots of mixed
It's, fruits.
mixed fruits.
Yes.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy, yeah.
This guy, he's brought us another dish, and I know this one. We had this quite a few times in the Philippines. This is a halo-halo, and it's a great thing to have on a boiling hot day, which it's definitely not today in England, but I'm sure this will still be great. Halo-halo means like mixed mix, and it is just basically a load of sweet things mixed up with condensed milk and crushed ice. And the pièce de résistance is normally the ube ice cream on top, and it's that same ube that was in the Bilo Bilo. So it gives it a really cool flavour. Let's give it a go. It's that bit of like leche flan on top as well, I think. And get some of the stuff from the bottom. It's so sweet. And that ube ice cream. Love it, love it. Bilo Bilo'd and Halo-Halo'd up to our eyeballs, one thing was already clear. Both the Filipino food and hospitality had made it over to London. Right alongside the Kamayan restaurant is another restaurant called Lutong Pinoy, and just across the road is the first of 3 Pinoy supermarkets in the area. Tindahang Pinoy had some fresh items outside, including ubes, and classic baked goods like ensamadas. And the inside was filled to the brim with sauces, jarred goods and snacks imported from the Philippines. A couple of streets over, there's the Manila Supermarket, which is probably the biggest Filipino shop in the area. And across from that is the Pinoy Supermarket, which was again filled up with all sorts of imported goods. And this one was the only place that sold a very famous Filipino beer. Each of them offer a variety of services aimed at British Filipinos. And as we browsed the shelves, we heard people chatting away in various Filipino languages. In fact, the main giveaway that you're not actually in the Philippines is the local weather. Welcome to England. So we went to 3 Filipino supermarkets in total, and I got 2 bags of stuff. So let's have a look inside. First of all, I've got some Sky Flakes, which are like some nice little crackers. They're like the Filipino Ritz cracker, which are really good for snacking on. And to go with that, I've got some of this sweet pickle relish. Now I don't know if this is something that Filipino people do, but it's something that me and Emma have definitely been doing, is mixing the Sky Flakes and the pickle relish, just dipping the crackers in. Is that weird? Let me know. I also got some calamansi juice. Now, a calamansi is a Filipino lime. It's a tiny little thing, and Filipino people use it a lot in cooking, and you can also have it in drinks. So I can use this concentrate, mix it with cold water, mix it with hot water, and it makes a really nice beverage. And speaking of beverages, the last thing I got is definitely the most exciting. In this blue bag, I've got 2 bottles of Red Horse beer. Now this is one of the most popular beers in the Philippines, and it's one of my favourites as well. And I haven't had it in 2 whole years. You never see it in England in any of the supermarkets, so this is quite exciting. I'm looking forward to cracking this open later. So shopping done, it was time for some more food. And no visit to any Filipino town is complete without some Chickenjoy. One of the more obvious signs of the Filipino presence in Earls Court is that it's home to the UK's very first Jollybee restaurant, which is far and away the most popular fast food chain in the Philippines. You'll find them all over the islands. Let's go and get it. Jollybee first opened their doors in the UK back in 2018. And where better to have the grand British opening than here, in the heart of London's Little Manila. And it's not uncommon to see queues out of the door here, so we were pretty lucky to find it looking quite quiet during our visit. For years, the Earls Court Jollybee was the only Jollybee in the whole of the UK, but that is starting to change. There's a brand new one opening up in Leicester Square, right in the heart of London, as well as Cardiff and Liverpool, so there's a bit of a Philippines takeover coming on. Just bring back some memories.
I honestly feel like I could be in the Philippines right now.
If you don't look outside.
Yeah, if I ignore the fact that I'm wearing a coat and I'm carrying an umbrella.
I did eat a lot of Jollybee in the Philippines, so I consider myself a little bit of an expert. They do have some of your usual fast food items like burgers and hot dogs, but they have some more unusual things too, like spaghetti, and there's burger steaks with a mushroom gravy. But I'm getting the absolute classic that you have to get when you come to Jollybee, and that is Chickenjoy, which is the famous fried chicken. So I've gone for the 3-piece with rice and of course gravy on the side. Oh, it's good. So let's give British Chickenjoy a taste and see if it's as good as the Philippines. Look at that. That is a chunky bit of chicken, actually. Here we go. That is very nice. Lovely crunchy batter, tender chicken inside, nice flavour. Let's dip a bit of it in the gravy as well. That combination, so good. I'm going to wash it down with some pineapple juice. Very nice. So the verdict. It's not quite as good as the Philippines version, but it's still really, really good. Better than most chicken restaurants in England. One thing that is a shame is that they don't do the spicy option here. In the Philippines, you can get the Chickenjoy with like a spicy seasoning on top. They don't do that here. I'm still quite impressed. So while Earls Court might not look anything like the Philippines, its streets are undeniably fused with that unique Filipino culture. And if you know where to look, it's a real throwback to those friendly islands over 6,000 miles away. One thing that definitely surprised me today is that it seems that the Filipino hospitality has made it all the way to London from the Philippines, especially the guy in the restaurant who treated us to so many extra dishes. It was really, really nice of him. And even in the shops as well, everyone was so friendly, and it really reminded us of being back in the Philippines. Emma said it when we were sitting in Jollybee, you know, if you don't look out the window and see rainy old London, you know, when we're sitting in the restaurants, in the cafes, when we were browsing the shops, it really did feel like we were back in the Philippines, which was kind of nice, especially seeing as travel's been off the cards recently. So to finish, we just raised a little toast to the Philippines. A quiet community that forms the backbone of one of the UK's greatest institutions.